Hello, everyone. Hope you're all keeping well. Okay, and I hope that you are all doing good. Good for yourselves, good for the people, and good for the planet. Okay, so today we are going to talk about, how can you consider start consider and start growing your business. Okay, and the main thing we are going to focus on is the very first step that you need to take, the initial steps that you need to take, to grow your business. I get this all the time. So, people are worried about what's the best way and what is the very first step I should be moving forward with. Okay. What I'm going to discuss with you is going to come as a surprise because this is not something people talk about, people discuss. You will hardly find this in videos, in books, when they talk about scaling your business, growing your business. But I feel this is the most crucial step that you've got to take if you are looking at growing your business, right? And if you're starting small, so say for example, let's say if you are a sole trader, if you are a micro company, or a tiny business, a one-man band, or a couple of people working for you, right? So this still applies to you, right? And I'll explain you the entire process as to what's the best way to do this, especially the first steps, right? But before I do that, go to www.customizedstrategy.com, and you might like what you see there, right? So that's www.customizedstrategy.com. Okay, so now let's get back to what we were discussing. In terms of growing your business, a lot of times people are confused about what do I really need to do. So do I need to implement the right technology? Do I need to start acquiring more leads, customers? Do I need to start employing people? What are the very first steps, and especially the first ever step that one should be doing, in my opinion, to grow their organization or their small business, right? And that step is to literally write down how your organization or how your company operates. Okay, I know this is going to come as a surprise to you because mostly this is not something that is discussed, right? I feel, and I've done this a few times with my different businesses, and this has been an absolute, and mind you, I learned the hard way. So so there are two ways of growing your business, or doing anything when it comes to scaling your business. One is the organized route, and the second is the haphazard, the unorganized route. Okay, that you can take. Now, majority of the time, right, what happening with the businesses and the CEOs, that they have reached a point where they feel that this is the time to take it to the next level, to start growing your organization. And let's say typically it happens if he's a one-man band, or she's a one-man band. They are looking to now grow their business, which means part of that part of growing your business is you've got to have, obviously, you've got to have the right kind of staff, you've got to have the right systems, you've got to be able to get more customers, and service them without compromising on your quality and service standards. All of that is fine, all of that is there, and I agree with all of that, and you've got to do all of that. That's fine, right? However, we are talking about the very first step in this video. Okay, and I'm going to share a very interesting story about that in a minute with yourselves as well. But before I do that, once again, type in your browser www.customizedstrategy.com. There is a way you can actually find out and figure out how to do this by booking in a blueprinting session. Mind you, customized strategy is spelled with an S, the British way of spelling customized. Okay, not with a Z. So CUSTOMISED, strategy.com. Okay, let's get back to the point, what we were discussing. So the very first thing you've got to do is you've got to, every single day, right, write down in your small organization, in your small company, how everything's working. Okay, so if you are in a business which is providing, for example, services, you've got to write down exactly how that is being done. Okay, if you are in a service which is has got a product and it is going out to the world selling that product, then you've got to, and if you're especially also if you're acquiring that product from somebody else. So say for example you are in the middle, the acquisition is happening, and then you are selling that product on. You've got to write down every single thing. Now, you may ask, why is that important, Faisal? I mean, why do I have to write this down? I mean, I'm already busy as a CEO or as a director of a company, as a business owner, running my day to day operations. This is crazy. If I start listing the benefits, right, you will be surprised. Okay. Haven't got the time to list all the benefits, but I'm going to give you the main 3 or 4 benefits of writing down exactly how your business operates. Benefit number 1, okay, you yourself will know exactly how things are running in your business, which means it gives you scope to improvise, right? It gives you scope to tweak, change, amend, right? And it gives you scope to make things much better. So you are going to have a very detailed understanding of exactly who is doing what and how are things working in your organization. Okay, by the way, let me clarify. So when I'm talking about write down exactly how things work, or your company operates, I'm not talking about business plan here. I'm not talking about writing down annual operating plan or nothing like that. I'm talking about how is how are things being executed on a day-to-day basis. That also means, for example, let's say if there is a call that comes in, how is that call being handled, right? If it's a client call, it's a customer's call, it's a product provider's call, right? How is that call being handled? How is that lead generated for that call initially? You need to write that down. Okay, you don't have to turn this into a novella, right, of a 5,000 page document. No, we are talking about literally maybe 10 to 15 pages maximum for you to have a very clear understanding of exactly how each and every function of your business is working. Okay, so and of course if you have got departments, right, then write down which department is doing what is their function, what is their operation, right? When they get by the way, it's raining like crazy, in case you're wondering what's that noise. So it's raining quite heavily. So anyway, so coming back to the point we're trying to make, you've got to write every single thing down, and this is absolutely crucial. So say if you've got different departments, write down what is the function of each and every department. If you're a one-man band and if you find yourself doing 15 different things, like most of the business owners do right at the beginning of their businesses, maybe the first 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, you still have to write all the different things that you are doing, all the different roles that you are playing as a CEO or as a business owner. Okay, and you've got to write this in sequence. You've got to write this in order as to where from the time a lead is being generated. Firstly, how is that lead being generated? If the lead is being generated, how is that lead being treated, right? How is that lead calling you, for example, or if you're calling them, whichever way, and what is being said, what is not being said. Okay, and at the same time, exactly how are the promises being fulfilled. So if the client has asked for X, Y, and Z, if it's an order online, or if it's a product or a service that you need to deliver, what is happening in your organization for it to come to the point where delivery enablement has happened. Okay, so you've got to write all of that down, right? And the more detail you go into, the better it is. However, I don't want you to freak out. So obviously, like I said, don't start going into a 200-300 page document, right? But try and detail it, because this is really immensely going to help you in terms of how you are going to be able to grow your company further. So I just gave you benefit number 1. Benefit number 1 was you will be able to know yourself exactly how things are being done in your company. Doesn't matter if you're a one man company, doesn't matter if you're a 5 people, 10 people company. In fact, it doesn't even matter if you are a 200 people company. If you haven't done this, I seriously recommend you do this, right? That was benefit number one. Benefit number two is this actually becomes your intellectual property. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, intellectual property is, whatever that service or the product is that you are, you're selling in the market. Okay, um, how is that happening in your organization becomes your intellectual property, because there is a certain way you are handling this. Okay, and that certain way that this is being handled will certainly have also a room for improvement, and you can work towards perfection, right? You can better things, you can better processes, you can better systems, all of that. The third benefit of this is actually going to be able to bring in the uniqueness, because especially if you're a small business, right, and if you've grown your business from nothing to something, I suppose, right, you may not realize it, but it's very much knowingly or unknowingly, it's very much personality driven. Okay, so you have even unknowingly brought in your personality into the business. Okay, and that is the uniqueness that can also be offered, right, as a differentiating factor to the outside world. The outside world doesn't necessarily need to know that this is the uniqueness of the personality which is actually being transferred over to them, and that's what they're enjoying, the product and the service. But and that's how they're enjoying it. However, what they do need to understand and appreciate is that and they will appreciate if the service and the product that they're getting is good. Okay, so 3 benefits so far, like I said. Now the fourth benefit is automation. Okay, if you know exactly how your processes are running, right, you will be able to then see which part or which bit, which component, right, can be automated. Okay, which means obviously less manual labor on your part, right? So by automating, I mean, putting systems in place and putting, certain processes in place, perhaps putting the technology in place, right? Because you would know everything from end to end, so you know exactly how everything starts in your business and how everything comes to an end in the business. That actually literally mean by the time, even, sending the thank you email that is being generated. Okay, that's, if that is the end point of the entire start to finish of a customer journey, or anything else that is happening in your organization, then you need to write that down. So you will be able to know then which are the bits that you can actually automate. Okay, so benefit number 1, you will know exactly how your organization operates. Benefit number 2, you will be able to, I suppose, have that intellectual property in the business. Benefit number 3 is the uniqueness, your personality, which is something that you will also understand when you write it down. Okay, these are the bits that are being brought into the business, and this is almost exclusive to myself, because this is how I like to do things, this is how I like to function. Okay, so that's your uniqueness coming into play. Benefit number 4, automation. Okay, you will know exactly which bits and what you can automate. Now benefit number 5 is going to be, you will know exactly who to employ. Basically, I'm now coming towards delegation, right? So you will know exactly who to employ and how to employ. Okay, because if you have got an end-to-end journey of, that is your processes, your customers, everything, and you have written down, all the different operations that or you've written down the exact operation from start to finish of your company, you will then be able to also understand that, listen, this bit where I'm spending most of my time on can actually be either automated or it can be delegated. Okay, so this is what it is. Now that's benefit number 5. Benefit number 6, you will be able to prioritize things as to what is important as compared to what is not so important. I learned a framework for my own businesses to grow a few years ago, and that is to organize prioritize, automate, delegate, and in that order, by the way. So you've got to organize everything, which is exactly what I'm asking you to do, in terms of, if you're interested, of course, in terms of, this is the first step of organizing. You cannot organize anything unless you know how it operates. Okay, so that's step number one. Step number two is prioritize. Once you know exactly how it's operating, you will be able to prioritize things, right? Then you can automate as well as delegate. Okay, so I've given you 6 benefits here, without going into too much detail with regards to how important and, I suppose, productive it is for you to document things, right? So I hope this has made some sense, right? I have done this off memory. I've not really made notes, so I hope I can review the benefits once again. So one is, of course, for you to understand, have a very good in-depth understanding of exactly how your business is operating, and you will be able to find out the weak points of the business. You will be able to find out the strengths of the business. You will be able to see, okay, this part and that part needs more attention, right? That component needs more attention, or I need to do this. So an in-depth understanding of your own business operations is what you're gonna get if you start to document exactly how your business operates. Benefit number two is intellectual property, because once you have written all of that down, right, that is in a way your way of doing things in your business. When you go out to that to the world, right, for you, to your clients or to your customers, right, how they are being serviced in a way is your intellectual property, right? Exactly how they are being serviced, right? I'm not saying people are not going to copy you. I'm not saying it cannot be stolen. I'm not talking about intellectual property in its literal terms, that you can patent it or you can copyright this. No, I'm talking about a very specific way of serving your customers and your clients, for example, and that is what I'm referring to as intellectual property. Now comes number 3, which is uniqueness. Okay, so your uniqueness, your personality, right? Number 4th, I believe, if I remember it correctly, I think I mentioned automation. Okay. Number 5th was delegation, right? And I've already forgotten benefit number 6, so please excuse me. Like I said, I'm not doing this off script, but because I've done this a few times, in my own businesses, and I help others with that as well. Anyway, so if you found this interesting, if you would like a customized blueprint for yourself as to how you can grow your business, what your initial steps should be, right, please feel free to go to customizedstrategy.com. Again, if I may say, customized is the British way of spelling customized, which is CUSTOMISED, not ZED. So that's customizedstrategy.com. Book yourself a blueprinting session, and we'll take it forward from there. And yes, of course, sorry, I did promise you I'm going to share a story with you, and the story goes something along the lines of, I had somebody who's a friend stroke a businessman many years ago, right? And he asked me to help him. They were doing a turnover of, I think, 1.5-2 million pounds. And he wanted to obviously, grow the business in the next few years. Mind you, this was a 30-year-old business, right? So he started in his business in, I think, mid-80s, right? And he was doing pretty good. I mean, they're a manufacturing company, right? So they were doing pretty good. However, when I went and I tried to help him, I could not help him, because he himself did not know, right, how things are working in his company. Now, he had been running his company for about 30 years. He had roughly about 30 people working for him, if I remember this correctly. This was a few years ago, right? But, all of that was good, decent operation, decent sized business. All of that was all of that was good. However, what wasn't good, which is why I couldn't help him, and every time he tried to get somebody on board, they were more confused and more perplexed as to how they will be able to do their job, simply because there were no clear directions, there were no clear instructions. So his focus was, let's keep on just adding more people to the company, right? So let's do this, let's add more clients, let's more. But everybody was running around like a headless chicken, right? And the funny thing is, the CEO of the company, this friend of mine, ended up doing more work than the rest of the 29 people were put together. Okay, this is crazy, right? I mean, he's supposed to be looking after the operations from, from, I suppose, a bird's eye view. And he should not really be getting involved unless absolutely necessary in the operations of the business. But he did, simply because what had happened is that he started building his business with the foundation being nothing, right? I mean, so it was chaotic day one, and naturally those 30 people who he had employed a few years later, were part of that very chaotic organization, that haphazard everything. I mean, I can share this with you because this is exactly what I told him. I said, you've got to go back, and you've got to go back to your drawing board. So what I'm trying to say, please avoid this in your business, right? Don't make this mistake, right? It's not so difficult to start employing people. It's not so difficult to start implementing technology. It's not so difficult to have more customers and clients, but you will not be able to grow your business properly and do justice if you don't get the fundamentals right. Okay, chaos breeds chaos. Okay, keep that in mind, please. And if you'd like to know more and discuss more about this, what we've discussed in this video, if you're looking to grow your business, feel free to go to www.customizedstrategy.com. Do book yourself a blueprinting session. Listen, it's been a pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed what we have discussed. I hope it adds value to whatever you're trying to do, especially if you're looking to grow your company. Until next time, thank you very much. Speak later. Adios.